Welcome, everyone. Nice to have a friendly crowd with us here in the chambers this evening. And the first thing we're going to do is get our meeting going, and so I'm going to officially call this business meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission to order for Monday, July 17th, 2023. And our first order of business is calling the roll. Clerk Borling.
Commissioner Decker.
Present.
Commissioner Hess.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Juarez.
Present.
Commissioner Pradle.
Present.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you so much, Clerk Borling. Well, for our opening ceremony this evening, we have an invocation that will be provided by Pradeep Sugdev, and he has been here with us before. He is active in the Indo-American Cultural Center and Temple in Portage, and he's a practicing Hindu priest for over 40 years. What I will ask is that everyone will stand for the invocation and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Namaskar. Thank you, Mayor Anderson, for the kind introduction. I have been here before and I have used the Shanti Path or the peace invocations from our Upanishads for this purpose. An Upanishad is really a dialogue between a teacher, a guru, and a shishya, a student, based on the questions that the student asks. Today, I'm going to introduce you to one Upanishad itself, rather than taking a simple Shanti Path out of it. And this is that Upanishad, that little gem. It is called the Bhagavad Gita, or the Song of God. It is a dialogue between Lord Krishna, an incarnation of our Hindu god Vishnu, and Arjun, his friend and disciple, on the battlefield of Mahabharata, an epic that you might have heard the name of. On the battlefield, when Arjun sees on the other side his guru, his grandfather, his cousins, and other relatives as the enemy, he does not relish the thought of having to shoot arrows at them to win his kingdom back. And therefore he tells Krishna that he would rather be a beggar than a king who wins his kingdom with his hands soaked in the blood of his relatives. At that time, really, the discourse begins, and Lord Krishna, in the 700 verses spread over the 18th chapter of this Gita, impresses upon the mind of Arjun the importance of performing one's owed duty no matter what circumstances he faces. I have taken out of the 700 verses, 3 verses that convey this message extremely eloquently and succinctly. The first one of this is, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhur ma te sangotsva karmani. To act only you have a right, not to the fruits of that act. Therefore, do not begin any action with an expected outcome. At the same time, do not be attached to inaction. In the 3rd chapter, 35th verse, Krishna emphasizes this point in this manner. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushtitat swadharme nidhayam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Performing one's own duty with some inadequacy is preferable to performing someone else's duty. Death in the performance of one's own duty is preferable because performing someone else's duty is always fraught with fear. Let me give you a simple example. An expert auto mechanic and an expert neurosurgeon, they do their jobs respectively very well. However, one would not expect an auto mechanic to do the task of a neurosurgeon and vice versa. Each one has his or her own duty, and the task is to perform that duty to the best of one's ability. In the concluding chapter, the 18th chapter, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna the all-pervasiveness of God. ईश्वरः सर्वभूतानां हृद्देशेऽर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्रामयन् सर्वभूतानि यन्त्रारूढानि मायया. Lord Krishna says here, O Arjuna, God exists in the heart of every living being. Like dolls installed on a machine, he revolves them in this world by his maya or power of creating illusions. Therefore, the message for all of us is to find out what our innate qualities are and what our duty is, and perform that duty without any expectations of immediate rewards to the best of our abilities as possible. I would like to conclude with a final prayer. We Hindus consider the entire world as one single family. And obviously, therefore, we want everybody to be happy, healthy, and wealthy. And therefore, the final prayer is, Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. May all be happy. May they all be without any diseases. May they all be without any sorrow. May the good Lord bless them all. Shatasha dhanyavad. Namaskar.
Thank you very much for providing an invocation and being here with us this evening. I appreciate that. We have a great proclamation next on our agenda, and we are also honored to have a longtime member of the Mothers of Hope Board here, our own Vice Mayor, who will be reading the proclamation. So any and all that would like to come forward to accept the proclamation from Mothers of Hope, I know that Dorphine Payne, you are here. I know your husband Vernon Payne is here also. So who all would like to come forward? And I will bring the proclamation down, and Vice Mayor Cooney will be reading it.
So this is a proclamation on the 25th anniversary of the foundings of the Mothers of Hope. Whereas Gwen Lanier and Dolores D. Johnson were both mothers who suffered from addiction to drugs and alcohol and lost everything, including their ability to effectively care for their children. But with a great deal of help from people like Dr. Michael Liebman, Reverend Dr. Otha Gilliard, and places like Safe House, they both began the difficult road to recovery. And whereas they learned that they could lean on and rely on God, aftercare recovery meetings and programs, and one another, and could face each day without drugs and alcohol. And whereas Dee has been clean 34 years, and Gwen has been clean for 35 years. And whereas once Gwen and Dee reclaimed their lives, their dignity, and their families, they began their work and became a beacon of hope, helping other mothers and fathers to recover and reclaim their lives. And whereas Gwen and Dee founded Mothers of Hope 25 years ago, and whereas Mothers of Hope's vision is to restore communities impacted by trauma, systemic inequities, and substance use disorders, and whereas Mothers of Hope works to accomplish this vision by engaging in partnership with like-minded organizations, businesses, and individuals, and whereas in 2018, Mothers of Hope opened its own location at 608 Ada Street, where it has provided services like recovery meetings, diaper distribution, community engagement forums such as Sisters Can We Talk and the Man Cave, COVID testing, mask distribution, vaccine distribution and testing, distribution of laundry detergent to families in need, voter registration, education, and get out the vote efforts, the annual Ultimate Family Reunion, Mothers of Hope Pandemic Stress Relief Program with AHA Urban Community Life Coaching Program. Now, therefore, on behalf of the 54th City Commission, David F. Anderson, Mayor of the city, we hereby congratulate Mothers of Hope on their 25th anniversary and invite the entire Kalamazoo community to join them on August the 5th for their annual Walk for Recovery.
Good evening. As the first non-founder president of this austere board of directors, it is my pleasure to present to you these two amazing, resilient, courageous, committed, strong women who have served our community for so many years. It's my pleasure and it's my honor to continue the work that they do, working with them by their side. I present to you Gwen and Dee.
Good evening. If you all would just please bear with me for a minute, I just need to ask you to go with me just for a few minutes. Can I ask you, please, to just close your eyes? I want you to picture with me a day about 4 months ago in this community when in 4 hours we had 18 overdoses. And out of that 18 overdoses, in those 4 hours in this community, 7 of them died that day. Think about the police officers that came to the scenes, the emergency room people that was trying to save lives, the family members that was devastated, the friends that didn't understand. And it lets us know right now today that we still got a lot of work to do. And we got to work together in order to be prepared to be able to receive some of the more Gwens and Dolores that's going to be out there that's going to need help. And I just want to just take a moment of silence right now. Oh, right now, for all the lives that we're going to have the privilege together to touch. And I just thank you. Thank you. Woo. Wonderful, wonderful. Wow. Come on, D, this is the part where you cry.
Good evening. My name's Dolores Johnson. I am Mothers of Hope. I just want to thank you all for acknowledging us and the work we've done. And hopefully we continue to be able to do in the city of Kalamazoo. Today we are part of healing for the community. When several years ago, we were part of the problem.
Yeah.
The lie is dead. We do recover. Thank you.
We definitely want to conclude by inviting all of you to join us on Saturday, August the 5th. It's our annual Walk for Recovery. We start at LaCrone Park. The walk is less than a mile. We are currently looking for sponsors to help us to be able to make this event impactful for our entire community, those who are in recovery, those who are trying to get on that journey for recovery, and the families who are loving and struggling with them, and most importantly, our neighborhood. So you can find more information on our website, mothers-of-hope.org. You can visit us in the heart of the neighborhood at 603 Ada Street. You can find us on all social mediums, which is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can meet us every Monday and every Saturday. Matter of fact, now every day of the week, you can meet us at the Mothers of Hope headquarters, where you will find recovery fellowships, 12-step meetings, and all things fun, safe, and clean away from drugs and alcohol with the programs that we are running. So please, City Manager, I remember years ago, it was the City of Kalamazoo that partnered with Mothers of Hope with our first annual family reunion. It was Don Cooney and the late Honorable Robert B. Jones who came and stood in the gap with us. That gap is still there. We are still here, and we invite you to partner, to be with us, to be our advocates and our champions, so that this organization sustains, it's vital, it continues to grow and enrich the lives of people in our community. Thank you again. Can Don come down?
Please.
Yeah, y'all could have came if you want.
Yep.
And I don't know how Vice Mayor Cooney puts up with all these women, but he has done it for over a decade, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, members of Mothers of Hope who came down here to spend a few moments with us, and we will be seeing each other on the 5th. Now is the opportunity to move forward with the adoption of our formal agenda. Commissioners, is there any item that's on the consent agenda, that's item G, that you would like moved to the regular agenda? Commissioner Decker.
G13, please.
Move G13 to the regular agenda. Any other changes, commissioners? Now is the opportunity for anyone here in the chambers with us to also ask for an item to be moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. Is there any request? Seeing none, we will now move forward. Communications, Manager Ritzma.
None, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now is an opportunity for public comments for our business meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission, and we'll start with anyone who's here in the chambers who'd like to make a public comment. Just a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and whether you live in the city. We will start with people who are here in the chambers, and then there's also an opportunity to phone in with a public comment. That number is 888-382-9556. Is there anyone in the chambers that would like to provide us with a comment? Yes.
Sweeney and I live in the city. At your last meeting, Vice Mayor Cooney called for a planning process for addressing problems of poverty. First, let's acknowledge that the cause of poverty simply defies simple explanations. I hope you have read Matthew Desmond's new book, Poverty by America. Nationally, there has been a large increase in what it costs to rent. Kalamazoo is not immune. Even before the pandemic, a large percentage of our neighbors had little ability to weather any number of disasters. I am one of a group of people at First United Methodist Church who answers the calls from people looking for assistance. I take Mondays from 10 to noon. The last 2 Mondays, I had 10 calls in that 2-hour period. Today, there were only 5. The majority of these callers in July are facing evictions. Among the players that give assistance is HRI, Housing Resources Incorporated, which serves the entire county. HRI is out of money. I hear the stories that can lead to eviction: a problematic pregnancy, a breakup of marriage, loss of jobs, illness, auto accidents. It can break your heart. It does mine. Losing housing is nearly always traumatic. Few of you have had such experience. I have, although a hurricane caused my eviction. Tonight, you will be approving a neighborhood enterprise zone. I wonder what developer is waiting to announce their plans once they receive this incentive. But what is your plan for those who are most vulnerable? Can you incentivize landlords to protect those on the verge of homelessness? Will you influence our legislators in the state and national level to keep in mind the most vulnerable? You've heard the phrase, housing first. It can be the catalyst for becoming resilient in people we should be loving. And don't forget those pods. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to provide a comment for our meeting this evening?
I am in the city. My name is Sue Ellen. And I was down by Walgreens, and there was a huge bag of litter that was collected. How does that get taken care of? Like, it was just sitting there, and other litter was starting to form, but how does that get taken care of? I know it's trivial, but I love this city. It's a beautiful city, and is that anything you can
Litter's
answer?
not trivial, but this isn't a time for dialogue, so it's just an
Oh.
opportunity for you to express a concern or something you care
Oh, that's my
about.
concern
Yes.
is litter.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the chambers?
Good evening. Jeff Messer, city resident. Commissioner Hess is probably going to mention this at her commissioner comments at the end of the meeting, but I just want to give it a second boost. Tomorrow at old fire station number 5 on Douglas Avenue at West North Street, there's going to be a meet and greet with the city's new sustainability coordinator, and you can also learn about the city's sustainability plan. I believe that starts at 6:30. Approximately 6:30. Be there at 6 o'clock just to be on the safe side. But to anyone who's interested in sustainability and all of that entails, please come to the meeting tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to take advantage of this opportunity in the chambers? Seeing no one, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain, has anybody called in?
We'll go ahead and check right now. Hi, you're live with the Kalamazoo City Commission. Go ahead with your comments.
Hi, I am calling because you are tearing down a green space. You're supposed to be saving green spaces and saving trees. We are in a climate change. You know, why would you destroy green spaces when you can build right across the street at the old DHS building? Quit being cheap and give lift to old DHS building and let them build there. Stop trying to destroy homes. If you put apartments in the low-lying area of Kalamazoo, they're going to build it up 3 feet higher than the green space. And where is that water going to go but in our backyards? And then we find out from Lisa Wilcott that you can't run the sanitary sewers and the sewers over there because on Stockbridge they won't take it. They won't take the extra sewage. But yet on Lake Street, it backs up in our basements and in our streets every time we flood because our sewer and sanitary sewers are not working. They haven't worked in a long time. And you talk about affordable apartments. How about you put some downtown? You have lots of open areas, not mixed use, all low income. How about you put some downtown? There's none downtown. You keep building all these expensive apartments downtown, and then you fuss about nobody has nowhere to live. How about you build some downtown? Or how about you build some in the DHS building? Why do you have to destroy our last green space? Every neighborhood needs a green space. It takes all the pollution from the fires and the pollution from the air in Kalamazoo. Trees help you breathe fresh air. Why would you change the NFP for a developer on the NFP board to build in our little last green space? See, this is a lot of conflict of interest, guys. Why do you not care about your residents? Why do you not care about our homes? You care about your home. Why don't you care about ours? You know, I have nothing against apartments. Build them at the old DHS building. And please leave our green space alone. We need that to survive. I mean, we have bats in there. We have owls. There was a red-tailed hawk that was just killed not that far from here. And it's the same one we've been seeing in the woods. You've never did an environmental study, which I would rather have somebody from out of Kalamazoo do it, because I'm sorry, but I don't trust any of you. You guys have all did me so wrong. You are going to put my home underwater. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, go ahead. You're live with the Kalamazoo City Commission.
Yes, hello. My name is Kay. I'm calling because of the constant sweeps against houseless people. I mean, when is that going to stop? October 2021 was very telling and very historical because over 300 people were displaced. And now we know that KDPS is being weaponized to continue to harass houseless people. And this board just sits there and talks about economic prosperity and talks about business and all of these things that do not matter for the community. that only matters for the rich who are invested in oppressing and extracting the labor of the community of Kalamazoo. Working for graphic packaging is hell for people. They do not pay well, their hours are bad, and still you sat there and gave them a tax break, and they are ruining our environment, and you are allowing businesses to ruin our environment, and it is very different. You all sit there and talk this great talk and talk all these things, but when the community sees what KDPS does, how the city weaponizes ordinance to attack black and brown people, we see your reality. You can sit there and talk progressive, you can sit there and talk about anti-racism, anti-discrimination, but there's nothing being done in Kalamazoo about systemic racism, about the environmental crisis, nothing being done. Like we are in a crisis, and there's trees being cut down to put more businesses. There's rezoning that didn't even consider the Kalamazoo River. I mean, what about the spillage and the constant spillage in the Kalamazoo River? Like, there's so many problems in Kalamazoo. What about the Kalamazoo public schools failing students? That is where the gun violence is coming from. There is not enough teachers. The support staff is not being paid enough. The constant violence at school. 60% of kids cannot read in KPS schools. 60% of students cannot read in Kalamazoo public schools, and we're leading the teacher shortage, and we're leading the exit of teachers, and we're leading the crisis in this whole country, and yet you will sit there and pretend like there is progress, like there is some kind of economic viability for black and brown people when there is not. You all are run by fascists, you all are run by racists, and you all need to look into that and stop trying to intimidate community members because they speak the truth. Because I will not be intimidated by Kalamazoo Township or by KDPS. I will not be intimidated. I will not be quiet about what is going on and the realities in Kalamazoo, because you all need to hear every single day, because you forget, because you all just make money off of opening your mouth and saying bogus things and catchphrases that we are tired of hearing these catchphrases from all of you.
That was the last call.
Thank you very much, Deputy City Manager Chamberlain. And I do want to thank everyone that took the time and made the effort to provide comments for us this evening. Next is a public hearing. Manager Ritzma.
We have a public hearing to receive comments on the proposed Eleanor Rose Water Park Area Neighborhood Enterprise Zone.
Thank you very much, Manager Ritzma. So I would like to now open the public hearing to receive comments on the proposed Eleanor Rose Water Park Area Neighborhood Enterprise Zone. Would you like to have a staff presentation?
Yeah, I'd like to have our city planner, Christina Anderson, come forward and offer a few remarks on this.
Clerk Borling, there was a map. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners. Good evening. The public hearing this evening is for the creation of a neighborhood enterprise zone with the following boundaries: Eleanor to the north, Rose to the east, Water to the south, and Park to the west. This district would allow both projects that have new construction units as well as rehabbing existing buildings to provide housing units. NEZ, as we discussed at length in the Committee of the Whole meeting today, is a incentive tool that the state allows cities to use to support housing development, primarily housing development, in areas that aren't seeing it, or to spur additional housing development. So the proposal that is in front of us tonight is to create a district with the boundaries that I just mentioned. This area does meet the minimum size that the state puts forward for creating such a district, which is 10 platted parcels. And the impetus for this project is a project that is being proposed at the corner of Rose and Water. It's called the Ironworks. It was previously called the Arcadia Lofts Project. We sent notice on June 14th announcing that we were going to consider the creation of a neighborhood enterprise zone district in this location, and those letters went to all the taxing jurisdictions. The way the state has set up the creation of the NEZ is at first you do a public hearing. That's tonight. It's not an action meeting, but simply an opportunity for collecting comment. And then no sooner than 60 days after that notice was sent, could action be taken by this body to actually create the district. And so again, we're talking about creating a district. And then once the district is created, projects within those boundaries can come forward to you or can come forward to request approval of a certificate or which allows for a tax reduction for their property. We have with us this evening Patrick Lennon, who is the representative of the project at the corner of Rose and Water, who is available to answer any questions that this body has on the project that is the impetus for the creation of this district.
Thank you, Planner Anderson. So, yeah, would we like to share the presentation, Commission, next, before we get any questions? Right. Yes.
Well, thank you. I actually wasn't sure if I was going to speak tonight, but after that introduction, I think I'll take the opportunity.
All right.
So good to see you all again after speaking at the meeting of the Committee of the Whole. I think you know my name's Pat Lennon with the Honigman Law Firm, and I represent the developer with respect to this matter. Tonight, we're talking about formation of the district, and that's a critical first step in the path toward actually establishing neighborhood enterprise zone benefits for a project. And I think you have some general familiarity with the Arcadia Lofts project that's being proposed. It's approximately 82 new units of housing. And I think we all know that housing in the urban core is critical at this point. And it's ironic that the demand is so high at a time when the ability to actually establish developments is more difficult than ever. Every project today is facing headwinds that include inflation, which make the cost of everything more, supply chain challenges, which make even getting the equipment and the materials you need very difficult, a labor shortage, which is kind of hat in hand, part and parcel with the housing problem because we need to bring our labor closer to the projects, and then interest rates, which are affecting everything. So the time has never been more right to have these types of tools in the toolbox for the developer and for the community. It will enable them to work together so that important projects like this one that we need in our urban core can come to be. So we are very supportive of the establishment of a district and then ultimately for the approval of our project to receive neighborhood enterprise zone benefits. One of the things we'd like to address today, though, is what those benefits might look like. And we know the city is considering a new policy that would apply to any property applying for these types of benefits. It's important for us that the city be cognizant of the challenges facing developments and enable whatever developer it is to have the maximum possible time under the statute to receive these benefits. Maybe a particular project won't be the right fit for it, but we would urge you that in your policy to give every project the chance to have the full 15 years of benefit. And I know this issue is going to be discussed in the future, and we look forward to being part of that discussion and hope we can be because it's critical, because I can share with you that this exciting project is premised on the notion that the full 15 years of benefits would be available. And we've believed that to be the case all along, and we just want to be sure the city's fully aware of that. And in all honesty, we think that is the best approach to if you do implement a policy, to keep it consistent with what's been applied to the prior projects. Because you've been doing neighborhood enterprise zone projects in the city for, I believe, 13 years, and most recently in 2018 with 400 rows. And I think we can all agree it's been a successful tool for both the city, the developer, and for those that utilize that housing. So today, I think I'll leave you with that. We are very excited about the establishment of a neighborhood enterprise zone in the new district that Christine Anderson described for you. And we look forward to the time when we can file our application for our project that would be located in it. And I think you all know that 82 new units of housing would be really helpful right now. And remembering too that 33 units of those would be those special units for a certain percentage of AMI, which I believe is 40% in our project, pardon me, 80% of AMI in our project, which would be workforce type housing. So, so we hope you'll consider that, and we're obviously glad to answer any questions that we can answer for you tonight. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Yeah, thank you very much. Planner Anderson, so just let's be clear about what this hearing is. This is not, we are not writing the policy. We had some discussion about that. This is about the district in particular. Could you provide some clarification there?
Sure, correct. So at the Committee of the Whole earlier this evening, we discussed some of the parameters we are considering as part of the draft policy, which would apply to NEZs throughout the whole city moving forward. What we are doing right now is a public hearing specifically for the creation of a district, a neighborhood enterprise zone district that will be located in downtown. The state sets up a process on how you create these districts. They are created through this body's approval. And the process is, as I mentioned, we need to notice the taxing jurisdictions about the intent of creating this district. Because at the heart of it, the benefits that Mr. Lennon referred to are a tax break or tax reduction for the projects. So we notify the taxing districts that there is this potential of creating a district where this may occur. We have a public hearing. That's what we are doing tonight. It's not action. We're not taking any action tonight. We're simply seeking feedback from the community and learning more about the potential projects. And then 60 days, at least 60 days after the notice was sent, that notice letter was sent June 14th, we have the opportunity to take action anytime after that. That would mean that the first available City Commission meeting, regularly scheduled City Commission meeting for action, would be the second meeting in August, which is August 21st.
Thank you, Planner Anderson. Commissioners, are there questions for our city team here? Commissioner Pradel.
Just had a quick question about, there was mention about having consistency in terms of the years. And do you happen to know off the top of your head in 400 Rows or Marketplace, were those 15-year?
So Marketplace, I don't know the answer for Marketplace. I do believe that for 400 Rows, it was 15 years. I know we're not discussing policy, so we'll discuss policy another time.
Other questions for Commissioner Decker? Oh, all right. Other questions, commissioners? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Planner Anderson. So, since there's no questions, now is the opportunity for public comments on this item. Speakers will each have 3 minutes. Please state your name and whether you live in the city. Is there anyone here in the chambers that would like to comment for this public hearing?
Good evening, Jeff Messer, city resident. Question for Planner Anderson. What taxing jurisdictions are either exempt from having their revenues captured from the zone or have the option to exempt themselves? For example, the public library, the state education tax. I just would like to know what taxing jurisdictions have the opportunity to opt out of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to make a comment on this during this hearing? Seeing no one else, this is not an action item, so I won't be asking for a motion on this. I don't know, Planner Anderson, if you're able to pull that detail up, but we can certainly provide it if it's not immediately available some later time. Would that be better? Okay. All right then. Thank you so much. I now close the public hearing. Next then is the consent agenda. Manager Ritzman.
We have the following items presented for authorization and approval tonight. First is the approval of a contract with Hildebrand Trucking Incorporated for trucking services in the amount of $125,000. Next is the approval of a contract with Pitch Companies for asbestos abatement and demolition of the former Bingo Hall at 328 East Stockbridge Avenue in the amount of $183,000. Next is the approval of a one-year contract extension with Waste Management for the rental, placement, and removal of roll-off containers and disposal of all street sweeping materials deposited in those containers in the amount of $185,000. Next is the approval of a contract extension with Trace Analytical Laboratories Incorporated for analytical testing services for a total amount not to exceed $194,176. Next is the approval of a contract with County Line Nurseries Incorporated for the 2023 tree planting program in the amount of $236,250. Next is the approval of a 3-year contract with Cummins Bridgeway LLC for generator services through the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Program in the amount of $281,427. Next is the approval of a contract supplemental and change order with Monoform LLC for sanitary and storm manhole rehabilitation by lining in the amount of $293,450. Next is the approval of a professional services agreement with Prine and Newhoff for the 2023 DWRF Contract 1 Water Main Replacement Project in the amount of $627,000. Next is the approval of a professional services construction engineering agreement with Prine and Newhoff for the 2023 DWRF Contract 2 Northside Non-Copper Service Replacement Project in the amount of $947,000. Next is the approval of a professional services agreement with Whiteman and Associates for construction engineering services for the Whites Road Water Main and Roadway Project in the amount of $747,050. Next is the approval of an agreement with Abbey Farm Development Company, LLC for $345,875 for water main construction in Pavilion Township in the amount of $345,875. Next is the approval of budget amendments for fiscal year 2023 quarter 2 and 2023 grants under $25,000. And finally, the approval of the following appointments to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board: the appointment of Jarrett Blackman for a term expiring on January 1, 2025, and the appointment of Riley Nielsen for a term expiring on January 1, 2027.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Commissioners, the requested action is a motion to approve items 1 through 12 and 14 and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents on behalf of the city. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Pradel, supported by Commissioner Hoffman. Clerk Borland, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hess.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez. Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes, and I will abstain from item
Which item?
G2.
G2. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Items on the consent agenda are approved. Now we are at the regular agenda. Manager Ritzma.
Item H1 is approval of a contract supplemental change order with SWT Excavating Incorporated for the fiscal year 2023 DWRF Contract Number 2 North Kalamazoo Non-Copper Service Line Replacements in the amount of $3,878,403.66 for a total contract of $9,188,853.42.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Is there a staff report on this item?
Yeah, I'd like our Public Services Director, James Baker, to come forward. He's got a few words to introduce this topic this evening.
Welcome, Director Baker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Manager, Vice Mayor, City Attorney, City Commissioners. During our July 5th City Commission meeting, we had 2 contracts that we presented that provided work for 3.2 miles of water main replacement and a number of lead service line replacements, approximately 500 lead service line replacements. During that meeting, I presented comments on the amount of available grant funding that we had and other available sources of funding to include principal forgiveness and low interest loans. It was our intent to maximize our work, project deliveries with our available funding. So we want to align the amount of work we're doing with the amount of funding approvals that we had. We were able to go back to the contractor and recommend an additional $3.9 million of lead service line replacement, so that between contract number 1 and number 2, we now have about 1,080 lead service line replacements with this work. So that's what the action is in front of you. It's an additional change order for $3.9 million. That coincides with action taken at the previous City Commission meeting and some action on the consent agenda item totaling just over $19 million in work, covering 3.2 miles of water main replacement and 1,080 lead service line replacements.
Thank you, Director Baker. Commissioners, are there questions for Director Baker on this contract change? Commissioner Hess.
Wow. Just wow. Thank you, Director Baker. Question, we're doing this. Could you give us a timeline when all of that is, that's not all for this fiscal year, is it? And could you give us a timeline and maybe share some information on supply chain issues and things that might be holding up the project?
Yes, yeah, thank you very much, Commissioner. So it's going to take a few weeks to get through the paperwork involved in all this before a notice to proceed is issued. That also has to, go through the state of Michigan as well. So as soon as this work is approved through both the city and the state, that work is going to commence in 2023. It's going to occur all through 2024, and it's also going to occur into 2025. So the majority of the 1,080 replacements would occur in 2024, and there would be some occurring in 23 if we can get materials, and there will be some occurring in 2025 as well. We are experiencing supply chain challenges for what we call brass and copper materials. That's the copper line that connects from the main to the house, and then there's a series of valves and fittings that are brass and NSF certified that must meet our standards that have been a bit of a challenge in procurement.
I hope they come soon.
Thank you, Commissioner Hess. Commissioner Pradel?
Hey, Director Baker. Thanks for being here tonight. Question for you. I know typically it is, or more recently, it was our goal to do 600 per year. We've recently knocked those numbers out of the park each year that we've set those marks. I remember you saying at one point that there was a minimum threshold required by the state. Are there any concerns that we won't be able to meet that benchmark number for this year?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner, for the question. So the minimum state required amount is 500 per year. The state does have a mechanism that we can kind of apply for and make up the work in subsequent years. So an example of, let's just say for an example, we got 200 done this year in 23, we would have to complete 700 in 2024 to average 500 between the 2 years.
Does it take into account any previous years of overages?
I'm not sure. In fact, let me correct the math in the last example. Would be 800.
Yes.
So, yeah. So it would have to be 800 next year to get the average of 5 years. That's a good question. We haven't explored that yet. Obviously we've had good behavior in this, and so I don't know if we could get credit for that. Perhaps that could be taken into consideration.
I also would wonder if I would imagine other communities are facing the similar supply chain issues. So, other communities are probably facing similar hitting the mark, if you will.
Certainly, and that's been a challenge. I know last year when, we were struggling with this, we reached out to non-Michigan communities and non-Michigan regions due to all the work that Michigan's doing. And so we were reaching out to pipe suppliers and vendors in Des Moines, Iowa. We were reaching out. We found a community in Arizona. We were going to drive a truck and trailer down to Arizona to get parts, but ultimately we were able to get them through our vendor through our current network. So we were able to kind of pull it through last year, and that's great news. Obviously, our 829 lead service line replacements last year was a great number, and we hope to achieve that again. But it is a challenge with the supply chain.
Other questions for Director Baker at this time? All right, well, thank you, sir. Appreciate you being on top of it. Just recently read an article about national situation as it relates to water and providing water. It was suggesting that across the country, we have neglected to invest in our water infrastructure as we should have, and people across the country are now seeing increasing costs for that investment. So I understand that we're going to be competing probably for those kinds of critical pieces that we're going to need to do this work. Suggested in that particular article reflecting the national situation that average water bill was around $125 a month on average across the nation. Obviously, a great deal of variance there, but that it's one of those things where something that we in the past have really not thought much about is as these bills go up to support, either repairing systems that are breaking or invest in new systems, that it's going to be something that we're going to be paying more and more attention to, as also we become aware of not only things like lead, but PFAS and those kind of things we're dealing with. So I just appreciate that you're right there on top of it and doing that work. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So with no other questions, now is an opportunity for public comments on this item. Is there anyone in the chambers that'd like to comment on this item? See no one. Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Juarez.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Hess. Any further discussion, Commissioners? See none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez? Yes. Commissioner Pradle?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Decker?
Yes.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next is what was consent agenda item G13, now our second regular agenda item. Manager Ritzma.
We have the approval of mayor's reappointments to the Investment Committee of the Employees Retirement System and approval of a waiver of City Commission Rule 12E regarding term limits. The reappointment of Dan Dement for a term expiring on March 31, 2026. The reappointment of Randy Eberts for a term expiring on March 31, 2026. And the reappointment of Robert Salisbury for a term expiring on March 31, 2026.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. So I pulled this one off because I believe this is the second time where we have appointed individuals to the Retirement and Investment Committee, and that we have waived the Commission Rule 12E regarding term limits. That is not my concern. My concern is that I've read through the agenda. All of these individuals are very well qualified. All of these individuals, except for one, is a resident of the state of Michigan. And that's what I have a concern with. I guess I'm wondering, again, I know from reading the information that the gentleman has tons of knowledge, but I believe that knowledge can also be found here within our state and within our city or within our county. And that's just the main concern that I have. Again, someone that is, my main thing is someone that does not even live in the state of Michigan is on our retirement board. So I am okay with approving this, except for the gentleman that does not live within the state of Michigan or the city of Kalamazoo. And I would also like to say that with us moving forward with diversity, inclusion, and equity within the city of Kalamazoo. Mayor, we had a conversation just before, and there is only one person of color that also sits on this board. I really think that we need to start to expand that, definitely. And more so, you know, I bring that up because within the agenda report, it, you know, says, when I get here, when you talk about, we have on here a spot that says contribution to diversity. All 3 nominees are European American descent. But I noticed that on the other appointments, it doesn't say what descent they are. It just says what neighborhood they live in. So I feel that, you know, if we're going to put this on our retirement appointees, it should also be on all the other ones, including the other appointments that we're getting ready to appoint here. Again, I'm trying to encourage and incorporate more diversity into our boards so more people within the city can have a voice. So I am okay appointing the other 2. The last gentleman that does not reside in the state of Michigan and does not reside in the city of Kalamazoo, I will not be supporting.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Other concerns or
I mean,
comments?
yeah, I think to your concern, Commissioner Decker, I agree, right? Like, how does that individual even come to the meetings, or do they Zoom in? And all those meetings are on Zoom?
No, they're generally public meetings. CFO Vicenzi?
I will just clarify that. He does have a summer home in Kalamazoo, and he is here for at least 2 of the meetings each year in person. The other 2 of the meetings, he typically either phones in or Zooms in. Occasionally, he does make 3 per year as well. So just kind of depends on his timing of the year. And he was previously a resident of the city of Kalamazoo for a number of years before his retirement.
Okay.
So at this point, Commissioner Decker, yeah, would you like to make a motion?
I would not like to make a motion. I have more questions.
Okay.
Thank you, though. Mr. Vincenti, so he is here for a couple of meetings. City Attorney Leal, are you able to, in a moment, pull up what that 12E states?
I think the provision that you're looking for is 12K, which
Is it 12K?
has a requirement that all members of boards and commissions shall be residents of the city of Kalamazoo unless otherwise provided by statute, ordinance, or by the bylaws of a particular board or commission, in which case a majority of the members of such boards and commissions shall be city residents. I have not looked at any of the enabling documents, either statute, ordinance, or the bylaws of this board, to be able to tell you that would waive that requirement for the particular individual.
Okay. I think I stand for on my decision that I will not support this individual.
Reflective of that, I do not believe that we have made a motion yet. So, yes, Commissioner.
Just point of inquiry. Just want to clarify which individual we're talking about.
Bob Salisbury,
Okay,
Robert Salisbury.
I figured that, but I just figured it was important to say that so we know we're on the same page about which individual. Thank you.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you all share how long these individuals have been representatives of this board?
I have that list right here. Randy Eberts has served since 1997. Bob Salisbury served since 2005, and Dan DeMint also since 2005.
Okay, so, yeah, Commissioner Morris.
Is it that we don't have more applicants who want to serve on these committees? Is it, because I mean, those are long times to serve on a committee, right? And I get it, some people have the means if they're retired or not, but like, how do we cycle in fresh blood, right? And so just thinking about that, is it an open application people can apply to? Is it, how the process?
Yeah, good question.
When we have an official opening, we do have an open application process that works through the board and through staff. Prior to this, we had 2 new applicants, which brought in Nick Griffith and Joshua Sledge. So we went through that process just a couple years ago. But typically we have just, if a board member is willing to volunteer to continue their service on a board, we have reappointed them for this committee. And part of the trouble that we do have is these board members cannot be part of the city's retirement system. They cannot be actively involved in investments. And then we still are asking for someone with some investment knowledge that they can help come to the table and be professional. So it can be kind of a limiting factor to find someone that's not actively working in that realm or a former city employee or retiree.
Do you guys promote the application when it's open? Do you guys share that with the community? How does the community find out that the application's open?
So I guess the last time we did not openly promote. We were looking within those circles of people that may have professional expertise. That's something we can definitely look at pushing more in the future.
But it does require some expertise in this area, right? Like it can't just be like, Esto wants to be on the board, but I know nothing about retirement funds or anything like that, right? So it does require a limited amount of expertise.
Correct.
Or a certain amount?
The detail that we asked for is a proven financial background. So somewhat wide open, could be someone from banking, could be someone from investing, could be someone just that has had an understanding of that. Some of our members have worked for other not-for-profits or other boards that have done investing as well. So not specific, but still we do ask that there's some understanding of a financial system to make these important investment decisions for us.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hess.
A few things. Thanks, Mr. Pacenzi. So to make these important decisions for us, have they, in your professional opinion, have they been making good decisions for us as a city?
Absolutely. They're the reason why our pension is overfunded where it is today. We have not made a city contribution in over 20 years. Some of these members come back close to when we first started the investment committee back in the 80s. And since their investment, we've returned over, going to ballpark this off the top of my head, around 10% per year. And that's a significant, improvement to our system, and it has allowed us to continue to take those extra resources that otherwise would be going towards funding our pension and continue to invest those into our community.
Thank you. So you mentioned that Mr. Salisbury has a summer home here. Is that his primary residence, or he just summer and?
Just summer, so it's not his primary.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
I just want to say 2 things. First of all, I think the point about diversity is really important, and we should look at that ongoing. The second thing I want to say is it's amazing what they have done. There have been cities around the state whose retirement system has gone into bankruptcy and in terrible. But in more than 20 years, 23 years, because I've been on the commission 23 years, we have never had to put a dime into the retirement system. And that is amazing. So they've done a really good job.
Mayor.
Commissioner Decker.
I just want to make the point that I don't disagree that they have not done great for the city. I just disagree that we have an individual that sits on a committee that makes decisions for individuals in our city, our pensions, retirement pensions, albeit the best, great decisions. My concern is that we are allowing someone who does not live in the city, does not live in the state, to be on a committee here within the city of Kalamazoo. I'm not portraying that they're not doing what they need to be doing. That is just my concern. If we are going to start following policies and start doing things that we have put into place, then that's just the way I feel.
Commissioner Prato.
I think it should be noted that you can have reverence for people's service and their contributions, but still recognize when changes need to happen, right? I think it can be both and, and I think in this particular instance, what you've identified is perfectly reasonable, right? I mean, to your point that you have faith out of a community of 78,000 plus people, that there are equally qualified people that can make an impact. And that's not to diminish Mr. Salisbury's contributions and impact making that work. And it shouldn't be diminished. And that person should definitely know that appreciation that we feel. But in the same respect, that doesn't mean that you can't request that change, right?
So, commissioners, is there a way that we'd like to move forward on this in any way? A new version of this with fewer names on it?
Mayor, I have a thought. Maybe we could give City Attorney Leal some time to review the bylaws and to review that information and bring it forward at our next meeting.
I can certainly do that. It would be my pleasure to look into that. May I suggest that maybe as a way to moving this item forward, if that's what the commission wants to do, is act on the other two appointees tonight and bring back the other at a future meeting, if that is the will of the commission.
I think that could work, because I think there's other appointees that are also within the G13, so I'm okay with that. So
That suggestion, yes, yeah, that's the motion I was looking for.
Thank you, Mayor. I will make the motion to approve the appointees that the mayor has requested, with removing Mr. Salisbury until City Attorney Leal has time to come back to us at the next commission meeting with information regarding their bylaws, and then we can make a decision then at that time.
Is that an acceptable motion?
Yes, sir.
All right. And supported by Commissioner Hoffman, correct? Is that right? All right, any discussion on that? So basically the motion is the reappointment of Dan Dement and Randy Eberts, those two names for this motion. And right, coming back on the,
Mayor.
on Robert Salisbury, yeah. Yeah, Commissioner Hoffman.
Yeah, I just want to say, I really understand, like, those are a lot of years for these individuals to be serving on a committee. And I agree that we need some fresh blood, but I also just want to honor the fact that the city hasn't had to put any money. So parts of me, I'm just being transparent and honest, parts of me feel like if it's not broke, or if it's not broke, let's not mess with it. And as we move forward, can we take a look at those criteria around DEI and having more people that are local? I just want to honor that. It's been working. And it's time that we maybe take some time to say, we don't have to do business as usual with everything that we do. If this is working, then it's working, and it's working well for our employees of the city. So I just wanted to put that out here. Let's not forget about creativity, and doing status quo doesn't always have to be, so.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Any other discussion? Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Juarez.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, it's a regular agenda item. Do I have to I give it opportunity? I'm sorry. Thank you, Clerk Borling. Is there anyone in the chambers here that would like to comment on this item?
Hello, Bill Reeves, city resident. My thought is there's a way to split the baby here. And maybe I'm completely just spitballing, but is it possible to add another seat and still do the DEI, lens in that, and then we can still keep the people that, without booting somebody off who has done, as we've said here, a decent job, that would be possibly an option. So,
Thank you. Any other comments from those in the chambers? All right, seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Juarez.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradle.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson. Yes. Commissioner Decker?
Yes.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next, reports and legislation. City Manager Ritzman, do you have a report?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of things this evening. First, I would just help Commissioner Hess out a little bit, and the Sustainability Planner meet and greet is scheduled for 6:30 p.m. tomorrow at the Douglas Community Center on 619 Douglas Avenue. And Justin Gish is our new sustainability planner, so look forward to community meeting him. And then we also have a National Night Out coming up on August the 1st. I think our next meeting with the commission is on the 7th, so we won't have a commission meeting to announce this at, so I'll announce it this evening. We have more details on the specifics of Night Out, National Night Out on our website. But in general, the activities run between 4 and 9 p.m. at the various neighborhoods that are involved, that being Arcadia, Douglas, East Side, North Side, Vine, and Westwood Fraze Park. So look forward to that. And if there are any questions, please contact Sergeant Andrew Workma at Public Safety at 269-598-9750. That's it, Your Honor.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Next on our agenda is item under unfinished business.
Yes, we have approval of minutes from the City Commission meetings on August 29, September 6, September 19, October 3, October 17, November 7, November 21, November 28, December 1, December 5, and December 19, all being in 2022. And the minutes from the business meetings on September 6th and September 19th, and the Committee of the Whole meeting on October 17th, 2022, included proposed amendments.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Commissioner Pradel, any particular concerns or questions?
Just to give some background and transparency, there were over, I think, 100 pages of minutes. Admittedly, I usually review the packet late on Sunday night, and I really want to give the time to make sure those are accurate. That's how history is going to judge the work that we're doing, both as individuals and as a body. And so I take that work pretty seriously. There was one person who was like a speaker who was like listed the name wrong, so we changed that. But the other one was just a couple of instances where I just wanted to make sure to clarify a little bit better about what the comment I had made relevant to the time, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was trying to think from a lens of somebody in the future how they would interpret something, and it was a bit confusing. So that's all. I want to give a shout out though to the clerks team. Although I know I've heard people say they really wish they could get these sooner so they could review them. I was recently in the clerk's office, and both Clerk Borling and Deputy Clerk Moss were there with measuring tapes with an individual who was trying to measure the correct size of a banner. And so, they have a very difficult job, and there are people coming through all the time with just some of the most bizarre things or reasons you could imagine, seeking help or assistance, and so I just want to recognize that work. They have a very difficult job, and they do a tremendous job. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pradel. Any other comments on this item, team? All right, Commissioners, the recommended action motion to approve the minutes as amended. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Juarez,
Support.
supported by Vice Mayor Cooney. Any other discussion? Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Pradel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooney?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Decker?
Yes.
Commissioner Hess?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Commissioner Juarez?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Finally, we will hear from members of our team here who would like to make comments. Anyone who would like to get started this evening? Yes, sir. Commissioner Juarez.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff to say because Commissioner Hoffman for the last 4 meetings told us we couldn't say nothing because they were pretty late. So I'm going to speak my mind today. Queen Hoffman. Anyways, we have a couple, last year we did our first rally, gun violence resilience and resource rallies last year, and we had 3 of them. We had one on the north side, one on the east side, and one on the south side. And this year, we're doing it again. And so I just wanted to give people specific dates and times. I sent you guys all the flyers. You should have them in your emails. But the first one is July 22nd from 3 to 6 at Rockwell Park. And Chief Boyson, I still got to send you the flyers. I should send you those. And then the second one is August 5th. It's actually the same day as Mothers of Hope, but ours is at 3 to 6. They're done before 3. So we're going to be at Lacrone Park at 3. So if you do attend the Mothers of Hope Walk for Recovery, make sure you stay there for the gun violence rally, okay? And then the last one is August 22nd at Urban Alliance on the corner of Stockbridge and Mills from 3 to 6. And, yeah, we're grilling this year. Well, we got somebody grilling for us. We're not. Fredo last year, God bless his heart, he was on the grill serving, and it was just really cool to see him do that, right? But the encouragement for the community is that, and this is like just a bold statement, right? City government's not going to fix gun violence. Community will. When we collectively come together to do something about gun violence, we will then inherit the results of creating a safer and a healed and whole community. But that takes all of us to do that. It has to come from the community. That's where we see change happen. When you have people like Gwendolyn Hooker and Ed Genesis and Don and Hempfield and his wife and Charlay and Alejandro and B and Michael Wilder and these individuals who want to see gun violence change. The other day, I believe it was a successful 3-on-3 tournament down at Lacrone Park. Last year, it was unfortunate, right? This year, I think it was pretty successful. But the more we come together, the more we can create change. The more we can create change, the better our future for our youth is going to be. And so I work on this stuff day and night, you know, responding to the cause. We just had some action items where individuals went out and gave letters to families to support them with youth who are involved in gun violence. It's astronomical that we're seeing the age group of gun violence, who's driving the most gun violence. And it's starting 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. This is the age group that is driving the gun violence. So there is a gap somewhere. There's a huge gap somewhere. And again, it's collective impact. It's coming together to do that work. So we just had a meeting with some mothers at Kalamazoo Promise. We got a few of them there. We're hoping for more, but now we got to go on the road. Now we got to go to the homes. Now we got to keep shaking the tree. It's super important that we don't stop and we continue to come up with innovative ways to affect these problems. We have to be intentional. We have to be relational. And so I'm just excited about these rallies. But again, these things that are in our communities, the only way they get fixed is by the community. And so that's my call to action for the citizens of Kalamazoo in these neighborhoods. I live right on one of the streets, Washington Avenue, right? I could, God brought me there for a reason. And so it's super important to create that collaborative impact. And I just hope that we have a turnout and we have people, because I'm tired of seeing mothers having to bury their teenage kids. I mean, I told you guys last time about finding the one young man, the 17-year-old, being one of the first individuals on the site and finding this young man, that image is just burnt in my head. But the mother that has to bury a 17-year-old kid is crazy, is unbearable. And then you know, it's just so much to that, right? And so I just want to encourage us, share the flyers. If you got it in an email, you can find it on Facebook. It's the event page. You can find it on Facebook. It's Gun Violence, Resilience, and Resource Rallies. If you look that up, you can find the Facebook event page and share it with everybody you can. And I hope we see everybody out during these rallies. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Juarez. Other comments, commissioners? Yeah, Vice Mayor Cooney.
Thank you. Thanks for those remarks. They were very important. So I want to commend some different people. First of all, Jeff Patton and ISK for opening up this emergency mental health center here. We need that so bad in our community. That's just great. I want to commend you and the chief and the people from the NAACP and Urban Alliance for gathering the mothers for that meeting about violence. I think that was great. I want to thank the people that did the flowers in the park because they are just great and do a lot for this community. I wanted to remind people, we've already heard it several times, about the march for people, for resiliency, people that are trying to stop. And that is on Saturday, August the 5th at 9:30 in the morning in the Crone Park. 9:30 in the morning in the Crone Park. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to say is United Way just released the latest ALICE report. And it is really important that we throw a spotlight on that. I just want to read a couple statistics from that. Everybody knows that ALICE takes, what they do is they look at the poverty rate, and then they look at, because the poverty rate is too low, then they look at, beside the poverty rate, there are people in the community that have someone in their household who is working, but they still can't meet their basic needs. So they look at what is the percentage of that? What are the households? So just a couple statistics here. Statewide, the percentage of households who are below the ALICE level is 39%. For the city of Kalamazoo, the percentage of households that are below the ALICE level is 56%, 17 points higher than the state. For the city, the ALICE statistics are no better today than they were 9 years ago. We're not making any progress in getting people beyond the ALICE level. For single female households with children in the city of Kalamazoo, 80% below the ALICE level. For black households in the city of Kalamazoo, 70% below the ALICE level. So I propose, and I would ask you if you would support this, that at the next city commission meeting, we invite Alyssa Stewart, who is the ones that puts these things together for the city, to do a presentation for the city to highlight where we stand in these things. That's my request. I wouldn't see that happen. I think that deserves it. I don't think there's a more important thing we can do in the city than look at that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Cooney. Other commissioners? Commissioner Hess?
Yeah, thank you, Don. Appreciate that. I read that report today. Thank you. A few things, and thank you, Commissioner Juarez, for your impassioned speech, but I also want to Invite everyone to the July 24th Carnival, Keeping the Faith in Interfaith, put on by Peace During War. It is at 1037 Interfaith Boulevard on the 24th, again from 5:30 to 8:30, and it's for the entire community. And I hope that you're not going? No, I am. Oh, okay. Anyway, I hope to see you all there. And then this Saturday, the 22nd, is the quarterly styrofoam recycling, the EPS number 6 recycling at Mayor's Riverfront Park between 10 and 1. Please bring all of your styrofoam. We just had some new things delivered to the home and had like 5 big bags full of styrofoam that won't be going into the landfill. They'll be going into that lovely truck on the grounds of Mayor's Riverfront Park. Also, they do collect at KVCC between 10 and 1 on Saturday. And another July 27, Parks and Rec. Our Parks and Rec Department is doing its public input session. They are doing a strategic planning process for the next 5 years and would like your input. So please visit the Upjohn Park from 5 to 7 p.m. on Thursday, July 27th. And it's an open house kind of thing, so you can drop in between 5 and 7, or visit kzooparks.org/plan to give your information. And I'd like to give a shout out. We'd like to recognize some employees, but I'd like to recognize Laura Lamb tonight because the woman who came up and talked about litter and who might have been a little bit nervous about what she wanted to say and wasn't sure about the process, Laura went up to her in the middle of the meeting and actually addressed her concern. And so those things happen. And so any commenters, if you have a comment and you want follow-up from the city or one of us, please make sure that you sign in, and Clerk Borling always makes sure that we have your information. So while it's not a dialogue and public comment, it's certainly, we certainly hear you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hess. Commissioner Praedel?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to give a shout out, just a lot of positive thanks that we're all giving tonight, which is great. There was a pop-up shop homeownership event that happened on the east side at the end of June. It was on June 24th. Really, the lead spearheader was a guy named Joe Kaiser here in town who works in the financial world, but has a passion for social justice and banking. And there were over 75 people, I believe, that they said that made appointments and met with financial institutions about getting support for a first-time mortgage in our community at that one event on a Saturday morning. It was fantastic. Both Commissioner Decker and I were there at that event, and I just wanted to thank them for that, for all the people who showed up, the housing partners, the financial institutions, but especially thank Joe Kaiser for that work. Yeah. Other thing is, we heard in the committee of the whole meeting earlier today at 5 about basically the neighborhood enterprise zone draft policies. And one of the things in there is I showed the Mishta housing plan, and the goal was, they have 75,000 units of housing they want to create in that plan. In Kalamazoo County, we need to create 7,750 units of housing within 8 years. That's 10% of the entire state's goal. In the city of Kalamazoo, 2,100, over 2,100 in the next 10 years, which is 3% of the entire state's goal. We have a lot of work ahead of us to do that work and catch up. When we were at a presentation, there were a couple of us at a housing zoning presentation for public officials on Friday, and they showed this graph. It was a 40-year graph, and it showed how earnings, and this goes back to the whole Alice household things, were pretty much flatlined for the last 40 years. And you watch the same 40-year graph, and you watch the rates of housing costs going through the roof, and they've particularly spiked and skyrocketed in the last couple years. That's unsustainable. And we as collectively as a country and as a state and as a community, we have to do something about that. And lastly, I just want to wish, I always take an opportunity and a pause to wish my boys a happy birthday. My middle son, Simon, just celebrated his 7th birthday, so happy birthday, Simon. So, thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Praedel. Anyone else who wants to take advantage of Commissioner comment time? All right. Thank you. Hey, one thing that I have said many times before, but it's a luxury that I am a recipient of, is getting to speak last. And so that means that generally speaking, everything's covered. And I don't really have to come up with anything special. However, we're talking about all these events that are going on, and some of them, many of them, nonprofit and community-driven, which you talked about, Commissioner Juarez, just how critical, important, foundational that is. There is something that we sponsor more directly, and that's the PALS League. And Chief Boyson, I know you're in the middle of a conversation, but I just wanted to make sure that people knew there's open tryouts that are being held at Upjohn Park, I believe, for Rocket football. What is the date of those tryouts? Do we know that up here, or Chief Boyson, do you have to let us know? PALS football tryouts. I know there's signs all over town. So yes, look for those signs. And Chief, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here. I thought you would know that off the top of your head, but anyway, so that's just another opportunity that we directly support here in terms of helping young people have opportunity for great activities around caring adults, and want to make sure to lift that up as well. Thank you once again for anyone who took the time to either observe from afar or attend our meeting here in the chambers. So for this evening, I love you, Kalamazoo. We are adjourned.